Have you ever had a gut feeling, a weird little hunch that you just knew something was about to happen? We all have. But what if that wasn't just a random guess? What if it was a skill? Today, we're diving deep into a really wild concept. The idea that foresight, a kind of sixth sense, is something that can be trained, something that operates way beyond what we normally think of as human intelligence.
Okay, so right out of the gate, the source material for this explainer hits us with a pretty serious warning. This isn't your average self-help talk. The idea here is that this knowledge is so powerful, so reality-bending, that it can literally change you. And the warning is clear. Some people change for the better, and some people break.
So here's how the source breaks it down. There are essentially two kinds of minds in the world. On one side, you have the vast majority of people. They're reactive. They see the world as it happens, like watching dominoes fall and being surprised by the crash. But then there's another kind of mind, a much rarer type. This mind doesn't just react, it anticipates. It sees the way the dominoes are lined up, and it feels what's coming next.
And this ability has a name: trained foresight. Now, this isn't about magic or psychic powers. Think of it more like a mind upgrade. It's a deliberate training process that can shift you from your normal, everyday awareness into what the source calls a supernormal state, a state where you start to see the hidden code running behind reality itself.
So you're probably wondering how on earth you even start. Well, the whole process begins with this single, surprisingly simple action. It's described as the activation switch for this entire ability. Let's get into it.
And here's what's so fascinating. The secret isn't some complicated philosophical concept. It's a biological switch, one that's hidden inside your own nervous system. The claim is that if you learn how to flip this switch, you can literally turn your mind from a passive receiver of information into an active radar, constantly scanning and reading the environment.
And this is it. It's called the tongue switch. Sounds a little weird, I know, but it is dead simple. Let's walk through it together. Step 1. Take the tip of your tongue and place it on the roof of your mouth, right behind your top front teeth. Step 2. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. And step 3, exhale through your nose for a count of 6, making sure to keep your tongue in that exact spot the entire time.
So what's actually happening here? Well, the idea is that this simple physical action engages a part of your nervous system that controls your rest and digest response. The effects are almost immediate and the physiological. Your heart rate starts to slow down, your breathing gets deeper, and that constant mental chatter, that background noise in your head, just fades away. And as it does, your senses actually start to get sharper.
Now, let's be really clear about something. The source is adamant that this is not meditation. You're not trying to empty your mind or just relax. This is an active process. You are deliberately flipping a switch and turning on what it calls predictive awareness mode. This is the foundational first step.
Okay, so you've flipped the switch. Now what? The next step is to sharpen the instrument, your mind. To do this, the source lays out 3 core practices, or rituals. The very first one is the silence ritual.
The logic behind this is really straightforward. The biggest enemy of this subtle sixth sense is noise. Not just the noise around you, but the noise inside your own head. If you want to hear the quiet signals that come before big events, you first have to get rid of all the static. That's what this ritual is all about. And the practice itself couldn't be simpler. You find a quiet room, no screens. You sit up straight, you activate that tongue switch, and you focus on your breathing. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And then, for 15 minutes, you just observe. You don't try to stop your thoughts, you just watch them float by. You start to notice the little things, right? The feeling of the air, the sound of your own heartbeat. But here's the catch. Be ready for something called the threshold moment. Around 7 to 10 minutes in, your brain is going to start to rebel. It's going to tell you this is boring, that it's a waste of time. This is the static fighting back. The key is to just push through it. Because right on the other side of that resistance, there's what the source calls a drop. A moment where the noise just falls away, and your awareness suddenly feels like it expands.
So once you've learned to find that deep clarity in silence, the training gets a lot more intense. The next step is to learn how to hold on to that clarity when things get crazy. And that is the whole point of the second practice, the chaos ritual.
And really, this quote says it all. Being calm when you're in a quiet room is nice. It's a luxury. But being able to find total clarity in the middle of a storm, that's power. This ritual is designed to forge your awareness in fire, to pressure test it so it doesn't crack when you actually need it.
So how do you actually practice this? You deliberately introduce a controlled stressor. We're talking about things like forcing yourself to take a cold shower,
pushing your body to exhaustion with sprints, or even using fasting or strategic sleep deprivation. Now, the goal here isn't to punish yourself. It's to train your mind to stay calm and in command while your body is basically screaming at you to quit.
So, the drill goes like this. You put yourself in that state of stress. Say, you step into the cold shower, and you immediately lock in the tongue switch. You take command of your breathing. And here's the key. Instead of focusing on how cold you are, you expand your awareness around the discomfort. You notice the sounds in the room, the feeling of your feet on the floor, all from a detached, observant perspective.
Practicing this, according to the source, literally rewires your nervous system's response to stress. That automatic panic, that fight-or-flight instinct, it gets overridden by calm control. Chaos stops being something that shuts you down. It actually becomes your training ground, the place where you're at your absolute sharpest.
Okay, so we've learned how to activate our awareness and how to make it unbreakable in chaos. Now we get to the final ritual, the one where awareness starts to evolve into actual prediction. This is the pattern ritual.
The big idea here is that what we call genius isn't magic. It's just pattern recognition on a level that is so high, so advanced, that it starts to feel like you can see the future. You're not just seeing what's happening now, you're sensing the path of where things are headed.
Now this one is a long-term game. First, you pick a battlefield to observe. It could be the stock market, office politics, anything with patterns. Every single day, you become a detective. You write down 5 small, objective things you noticed, but, and this is important, with zero analysis. Then, at the end of the week, you review your notes and just let your brain start connecting the dots. Over time, you start making small, private predictions, silent forecasts, based on the patterns that only you are now able to see.
So you can see the progression, right? You find awareness in silence, you harden it in chaos, and then you sharpen it by seeking patterns. This whole process is said to lead to a really profound final transformation. So the question is, what happens when all these pieces finally come together and lock into place?
And this brings us to the final stage that the source describes. It's a state of mastery, where you, to everyone else, become completely and utterly unpredictable. This slide really just nails the final contrast. Look at the left. The ordinary mind is just tossed around by the storm, always reacting. But on the right, the sixth sense mind is navigating that exact same storm with purpose. It's not reacting. It's anticipating. It sees the patterns inside the chaos, and because of that, it begins to write its own reality, instead of just being a victim of it.
And so we land on this final, really provocative thought. The end goal here isn't just about becoming a genius or being more intuitive. The claim is that you've systematically woken up something else entirely, a dormant, powerful sense that changes the fundamental way you experience the world. You didn't just unlock genius, you unlocked a forbidden sense.